Hi, I just wanted to talk very briefly about these particular types of mining lamp that I'm interested in. I've actually got a number of these. I've got about 10. This is a electric mining lamp, so it's not like one that runs on paraffin or a spirit. It's an electric battery operated mining lamp, and it's called the CEAG. And I think I pronounced that right. It's spelled CEAG, so I pronounce that as SEG, but I'm willing to learn if that's not quite the right way. But they're made in Barnsley in Yorkshire, an area well known for its coal mining back in the day. I don't think there are any working pits there anymore. Now, I don't know exactly how old these are, but I do know they're at least as old as the 1920s, because I have seen adverts for these for sale in mining journals from the 1920s. So, they are a good 100 years old. Though I imagine they were producing them later than that. I don't know when they stopped making these. The 1920s, 1930s was kind of the golden period for electric hand lamps like this. After that, people were much more interested in the lamps that attach to your head, a cap lamp. And before 1920s, well, before about 1910s really, it was more the fuel-based lamps, like paraffin, rather than the electric. So this really was the sort of golden period, if you like. Now, the CEAG lamp isn't the only lamp that was produced in the UK of this type. There's lots of other manufacturers. For instance, Oldham was a big one, but there were a lot of these CEAGs produced. There's still a lot of them around, which is probably a good sign, really, that they're quite well made, and they are. And for a colliery lamp, they have to be well made, because they do have a really hard life. They get bashed about a lot. In the 1920s coal mine, it's a pretty hard environment, and the miners do really have to depend on their lamps. It really is their only source of illumination, so it's got to be tough and reliable, rather like the miners themselves. I don't know the history of any of my ones, actually. They're all ex-colliery or one of the other industries. Sometimes they were used in like sewer inspectors, or anywhere where you need a gas-proof lamp. So it's a lamp that can't explode like an explosive atmosphere, like methane is the obvious one for a colliery. You can just about see this lamp number is 90. So whatever colliery this is from, this was lamp number 90. So there's at least 90 lamps. So it probably was a colliery, not like a sewer inspector, or say a munitions store lamp, something like that. Now, they've got no actual threading on any of these. It's all bayonet based, which makes it very quick and easy to open. That's the battery compartment. There is no battery in there. None of mine have the original batteries. I reckon they all just got thrown away when the colliery's closed. If you look into the glass there, you can see the bulb, the lamp. Just about, it's not very clear. I'll take it out in a second. They're basically held in place by a spring. I don't know how well you can see on the camera, but there's a spring, and the reason for that is that the bulb is held into the contact only by the pressure of the spring, because it's like a non-locking tapered fitting. I'll show you in a second. And the idea is that if this lamp was to receive a violent shock underground, and this glass was to break, the bulb will come out of the fitting, so there's no danger of it being able to ignite an explosive mixture. You can just about open these. Someone's painted this silver at some point in its life. If I just invert this, and I can remove the assembly, so they come apart very easily and quickly. So there's the glass. This one has a slightly yellowy greeny tinge to it. I don't know why it would have been made like that. There's your filter. There's the spring, and this is the actual the lamp, the bulb. They all look like this. See, it's tapered, so when it's in its holder, it would just fall out. If the glass was broken and the spring would obviously fly out, the bulb will disconnect. So it's like a safety feature, which I think works quite well. I don't know how old this particular bulb is. It's probably 1920s. It's a pipped one. So that goes on there, the little end goes on the pip, and the big end goes in the glass, like that. That's how it all assembles. And if you put it in without the spring, it won't work. If I just put this out the way for a moment, I'll show you another version I've got, because these lamps did change a bit over time. This is basically the same thing as you can see, but it has like, don't know what you'd call that really. It's made up of ridges, I guess, to make it more easy to carry perhaps. This is a good place actually to look at the locking mechanism. Coal miners were quite liable to mess with their lamps if there was an issue. If it was playing up or something, they'd be tempted to open it, particularly because they'd be quite often being paid on their output. They didn't want downtime. They didn't want to have to go all the way out the mine to the lamp room and get their lamp looked at. So although it would have been very dangerous to open it because of explosive atmospheres, they were wanting to do that. So when these lamps are issued at the lamp room, there's that locking pin which prevents it from being possible to open, and the lamp man in the lamp room would put a pin through there and just squeeze it tight like a rivet. That'd be really difficult to undo manually without the right tool. So that's just a means of locking it. So they're given the lamp in a lit form, they take it underground and they return it still lit at the end of the shift. These things would run for about 24 hours or more on a charge. It's only a 2-volt battery in there. This doesn't have a battery in either, none of mine do. But it's a 2-volt and it's 2 watts. It's a 1-amp bulb, which isn't particularly bright, to be honest. But it's what they had, and it's certainly brighter than the flame-based ones that these replaced. The thing with these, though, as opposed to the flame ones, is these wouldn't warn you of any kind of explosive mixture or low oxygen. They don't warn you about anything to do with the atmosphere. They're just a light. That's all they do, unlike the paraffin ones. So that's quite a nice one. This particular one actually has stamped on it ICST MinMus 73. I think MinMus will be Mining Museum. 73 is probably Article 73. ICST, I'm not quite sure. I guess it's some kind of mining museum. This is another version that they made. Again, 1920s. It's a bit different on the top. Everything else is the same. It's a bit dirty, this one. This is what they call the pillarless one. And I guess what they mean is it doesn't have the 4 columns at the side, but it does have these 2. And I guess that gives in one direction and the other one a shadowless light. But it's a little bit cleverer than that, because you've got this folding metal, it's a reflector. Although in this particular one it's really not very shiny at all, but these are supposed to be polished to bright. The idea is that you can just flip it down like that, and when you're carrying it around, all the light that's shining backwards will also be projected forwards, and you'll have more of a beam. So it's effectively doubling the brightness in one direction. And what you can do as well also is you can fold it down and place it down so it's shining in all directions and getting rid of the shadow. So that was another version of it that was available if you wanted that type. I prefer these ones, they're easier to carry. If you fold the reflector down, your hand actually just fits in there quite nicely. So when you're carrying it around, it gives you a bit of a beam, which is nice. Ooh. There we go. This is one I would really like to show you, because this is one I do use underground. This has been with me on many adventures over the years. I usually carry a backup lamp, and quite often it's this. Maybe not so much these days, not when I'm at work. I do work underground. Not in a colliery, I work in a slate mine. So there's no explosive atmosphere to worry about. But this is one I've modernised and I've taken it with me in many different mines. It's a pillarless one, as you can see, and inside is actually a LED bulb, which is kind of sacrilege in some ways, because a nice filament lamp feels more normal, more natural. But I don't carry this for nostalgia reasons. I carry this because I want a really good backup light. So brightness and endurance are more important to me. If I open this up, you'll see inside I've made my own little insert there with brass and rivets, and coming out of there are two cables, positive and negative, to that's an XT60 connector, and inside is a battery. This is the kind of battery, it's a lithium ion battery. It's the sort of thing you'd have on like a drone or a remote control car. This is a 5 amp hour one. How many volts is this? I'm not sure. Oh, there we are. It's a 4 cell, 14.8 volts. But this bulb has a regulator in it that will output the same brightness regardless of the voltage between 10 and 30 volts. So this is well in the range, and it doesn't dim as the battery wears down. So all I do is connect it up at the start of the day, put the battery in. You just need to feed the cable in like that, and then just lock it shut, and that's it. No switch. I don't bother with the switch. I did drill a hole for a switch, but you know, this will run for more than 24 hours like this. There's not really any need to. You just turn it on at the start of the day and you just leave it on and charge it up again later. This is quite a bright little room I've got in here, so this lamp doesn't look particularly bright, but it is. This will light up quite a bit underground. It's quite bright, especially when you turn the reflector down. It becomes a nice little lighthouse. I tend to carry a sneaky chocolate bar in the canister as well, next to the battery, that I like to forget about and then remember I've got when I'm hungry and cold somewhere. So that's my CEAG lamp. A big fan of them, really. I think they're great little lamps. This one is probably 100 years old. You know, as I say, it's been on lots of adventures with me, but before I had it, it will have had many adventures in coal mines as well. Presuming that's where it came from. You know, I have lots of stories to tell over its probable 100-year lifespan. So it's nice to have a bit of history as well. It's a nice thing to have with me. It's very, very durable. It's never going to break, and I know it'll last for many hours between charges, so it's a good dependable lamp. Well, thanks for watching my video about the CEAG lamp. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall hopefully see you soon. Bye bye.